Welcome everybody to Bugbears and Brews. My name's Brian and today we're recapping the 35th session of the Tomb of Annihilation campaign, and as we're doing it, we are going to drink something that I have always wanted to try. We're going to do, let me do that right there, Chimay Trappist Blue. So this is the Grand Reserve Trappist. This is an official, actual Trappist made in a monastery. One of the few, I think there's 7 that are technically can be called Trappists. Trappist producers, and so this is one that's always been on my list to try. We've done a clone back when I brewed of the red, but I've never actually had the blue. So just trying to work the cork off here. 9% alcohol, so super heavy. It's like realistically like a quad or a strong dark ale. Ooh. Sounds pretty. Not going to drink it from the bottle. And I really wish I had some proper glassware for a beer like this, but I don't. So it gets the ever impressive dollar store wheat glass. All right. There she is. We're going to give that just a second here. Oh, smells pretty though. Okay, so this here, we start off with you guys up on the 4th floor of the tomb, and you guys were sitting there kind of trying to take a rest because you're getting the shit kicked out of you. It's been a long day, and as you guys are trying to take a rest, our buddy Withers, the guy that was kind of like, hey, have fun in the tomb, I'll catch up with you and kill you later, decided now was the appropriate time to make an appearance. He made his appearance and said, you know what, you guys have made it as far as I want you to make it. You're looking pretty wore down, so I think you should be pretty easy pickings. And so he and his skeletal henchman, he had that same skeleton that's been chasing you, or not chasing you guys, running away from you guys. It's the skeleton that has the head from the other skeleton that you kind of offed and kicked down the stairs. I forget how exactly the head made it from the 2nd or 3rd floor down to the 4th floor. I think it got kicked down the stairs or something like that. But that skeleton was covered in all sorts of the hands that Wither has. So kind of made this new monstrosity of a dual-headed skeleton with all these extra hands and features and that kind of stuff there. And I was worried about this fight. I really was. Withers, while he doesn't have much for hit points, he does have a pretty good spell repertoire. And I kind of had you guys cornered. You know, I wanted it to be a fight like you guys weren't in an ideal position or anything like that. And so played out pretty well. Sai immediately took off, ran past everybody, not out of fear, but more to split the enemies, and that did work. The skeleton monstrosity, hand monstrosity thing went after Sai, while the rest of the party could focus on Withers. And I'm going to take a drink of this bad boy, so we might get into second beer talk here. That's good. If you like any of the strong ales, this is just, it's a bit raisiny, but I think you get like the kind of raisiny type, raisiny and plummy type flavor if you ever go into like the Trappist land, or the Triple Land, and any of the unofficial Trappist. I don't know if here's where my beer ignorance is going to come into play. I know, like, to actually be called a Trappist product, you have to be made in a Trappist monastery, or a monastery that's labeled as Trappist. I forget what the official terminology is there. But I know other companies do kind of like a Trappist style. So anytime you get into those, you get a lot of like the deep raisiny type flavors. And people, when you mention that, like raisiny in a beer, that doesn't sound good, but trust me, it's delicious. For being 9%, it's not super alcoholic tasty either, which is good. I'm actually kind of surprised that the carbonation has already kind of died down. Typically, beers like this are pretty well carbonated. Not that it's not carbonated. I could definitely still feel it on the tongue and whatnot, but it's. I was expecting it to remain a bit more bubbly, but still, it's going to be a good one. The bottle itself, just so if you're curious, Um, 1 pint, 9 fluid ounces, so that's what, like 25, 20, almost 26 ounces. So I'll get 2 really good beers out of that. And I got this at Bush's for like $14 or something like that, which is every other place I've seen these, they were quite a bit more than that. I mean, not like horrendously priced, but seeing it for that price was pretty good. Okay, so you guys, forgive me here. That is a little bit of carbonation there. Uh, so Withers, he started laying into you guys immediately with. So you guys got you got the jump on him for the most part, but you guys stayed in this nice kind of cluster, and so he did ring a wall of fire, created a ring. Luckily, even though not a lot of people passed that check, he rolled pretty piss poor on the damage for it. And then the next round, you guys stayed in this nice line formation, and he cracked out a lightning bolt. And I think everybody, for the most part, passed that. As this is going on, you guys are tossing out a spell, or yeah, he's tossing out spells. You guys are tossing out spells. Ildrex is chopping at him, and off in the distance, Sai is fighting this hand monstrosity. Withers goes down pretty quick, which is what I expected. It was kind of like a flash in the pan. How much can I do in such a little bit of time? And I think you guys were left pretty hurting. Once we got rid of Withers, though, I didn't expect the hand monstrosity guy to be that much of a problem, and it wasn't. And once that was done, not Ildrix, Navarre used to take down Withers, used the big whirl spell that he used before. I forget what the hell it's called, but it's the one that does the constant damage and shoot out lightning. And so that worked out pretty well. Did some good damage to Withers with that. I think he cracked Withers with a lightning bolt once or twice. A couple of fun things there. So you guys got down those guys. Like I said, I didn't expect there to be much of an issue. And Withers didn't really have much on him as far as like loot and all that good stuff, but he did have something key, which is an amulet that allows the wearer to transport safely through the dungeon. So you can now use teleportation spells and that kind of stuff at greater distances. You guys knew you could do some short work teleportation, but anything long distance was going to be a little bit dicey. So that's pretty cool. It's good. It's going to be a good night with that. Especially with 9% alcohol. I'm going to be kind of feeling pretty done after 2 beers there. From there, I did give you guys a long rest. I didn't even say no rolls, no nothing like that. Like long rest. You guys had the shit kicked out of you for those days. Let's take a rest and head on down. You guys headed down to the 5th floor. 5th floor, you guys entered this room. It's all covered in all sorts of growth, but decayed growth. So there's a lot of rot and that kind of stuff in the air. But you see like decayed plant life hanging around. And then there's this kind of spindly type object in the center. And taking a look around outside, Sai did some scouting for us, ran around the outside of these things because he can run on water now because he's that kind of guy. He found out that there are 3 rooms on gears, and presumably that center spindle piece is what the gears can turn on. So somewhere along in here, there's an apparatus that's going to allow these gears to turn, is the thoughts, especially because you saw rooms that these gear room type things weren't hooked up to. Headed through another room, and Sai did this. So he headed through another room because you guys were worried about a trap. He just bolted on through. Everybody else hung out in the room that you guys stayed in. And Sai, as he's heading down this hallway, hears all sorts of like levers and switches and whatnot being thrown, and the gears start to turn. Sai starts running back. He doesn't make it back to the main central room that everybody was in, but everybody else stayed in the central area. The central area lines up. It lines up to this kind of gassy type room. The gas billows out, does a little bit of damage to people, but more importantly is it agitated some of that rot in the air. And we got into a fight with essentially 2 variations of shambling mounds. As this is going on, you guys are fighting. Sai's breaking out of the other room. He's lifting up portcullises. He took a quick drop on the portcullis hurt his leg a little bit, and he spent the rest of the fight trying to get into the next room um, where you guys were fighting. And then as you guys are fighting these two shambling mound type deals, you guys did find a dead, decaying, dead, whatever body of another bannerman in the room that spit out the poisonous air, and found out that it was a leader of the yellow bannerman, and he had a magic sword, is a +1 long sword that allows the wearer or wielder to speak Draconic, which is kind of silly because Ildrix grabbed it, but so he speaks double Draconic. You guys are fighting these shambling mounds, and highlights of this fight were Ildrix wound up rolling a nat 1 and rolled really high on the percentile and absolutely lost his halberd. Like, the shambling mound just kind of ate it and digested it. And as we're fighting these mounds, Salazar is looking on the interior, and he sees all sorts of bits of the Yellow Bannerman, which is what his previous company was. And these mounds start to focus specifically on Salazar. And as Salazar is doing this, one of the shambling mounds that's attacking him rolls a nat 1, and I roll 100 on the die. And I said, what do you want for 100? Because we don't ever get 100 on a percentile roll. And people are kind of joking out, tossing like random ideas out there. And so I think Don was like, give him a magic item. And so I kind of looked through and was like, you know what? There's a lot of cool druid staffs out there. Let's give you a cool druid staff. Why not? Let's do the magic item. And he got the Staff of the Woodland, I think it is. It's a +2 staff with a bunch of spells that come kind of preloaded or pre-known. I don't think it actually... No, it does have some charges as well. But yeah, so we said that was actually Salazar's staff to begin with. His party took it with him after he got sucked into the maze, and just was kind of assumed to be lost in there. You guys did take down the mounds. They did do a little bit of damage, but not much. I didn't expect them to be so much of a bother. I think the thing that kind of slowed down that combat is we were relying on kind of fire spells, and I tried to give clues like fire's not really doing much to them. But in the end, you guys were able to get them down pretty easily. Then heading off back into the room, or back to the area where Sai was, you guys said, let's move as a group. We don't want to get lost, don't want to get separated again. That was bad enough. You guys found another one of those skeletons with the weird headpiece type deal, and it's sitting there trying to do all sorts of weird things with these gears to make him turn. So like he's messing with dials, messing with this, that, and the other thing, buttons, levers, everything to try to see stuff. And he's like, seeing you guys, he's like, oh, shit. You know, as much as a skeleton can look surprised, I think it was Tim asked, what does a skeleton like? Look, what's the expression the skeleton has? And it's a skeleton. It has a skull's expression. It's much funnier at the table. Sorry. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a good beer. Okay. Anyway, this skeleton tries to take off running. You guys hear some gears turning, and as those gears are turning, the skeleton tries to take off running. Ildrix winds up doing a critical hit on it, absolutely splattering this thing. And so you guys are like, haha, you're dead. We got your head. You guys now have these 5 misshapen skeleton heads in a bag. Separate bags, though, because you don't want them to kind of talk and conglomerate or whatever with each other, because they have shown kind of a little bit of a unity type situation that they have going on. Every time you've encountered one of these, it's trying to maybe seek out the other one, or sometimes they were there in the duo with the one that had the other head on the shoulder. Ooh, excuse me, forgive me for that. Then decided let's go ahead and check out what's all moved, and the third gear room is now open. You got there's 5 wardrobes hanging out there, and kind of talked about the scenes on each of the wardrobes, because each of the wardrobes depicted a different scene. There's this super portcullis made out of adamantine, blocking your guys' way, and up above there's 5 gems. There's 5 wardrobes, and you guys decide, let's open up one of the wardrobes. First one you open up had I think it's a monodrone or whatever it is. One of the the gear, folks. I cannot think of it right now, and this is my first beer, so it's not like it's because I had a beer earlier, although it is Friday night. And that one, when you open it up, it seems really distorted. It's not sure what's going on. I will also say, because I think Ildrix was the one that opened up the door. He saw into this thing's realm, and so he kind of got an idea like these things are a little bit of a portal to someplace else. Anyway, this monodrone starts running around, a little confused. It starts running over to another wardrobe, opens it up, and this one here it let out 2 will-o-wisps, and then you guys killed the will-o-wisps pretty quickly, and the light went out, or one of the lights, not lights, one of the gems lit up above the door there. So that kind of gave you guys the opinion, or the thought that we have to take care of what's going on. We got to take care of something from each of these wardrobes. That means you got to take care of this monodrone too. And so you guys start opening up all these doors really quickly. The next door you open up had essentially 10 orcs. Some of them stronger than others, some of them just flat out foot soldiers. The fourth door you open up had these pretty nasty demon-esque things. And immediately the demons, when they got into the realm, they dropped a double cloud kill and wound up taking out most of the other things. Took out most of the orcs. The monodrone, I forgot who hit that one and killed it, but it didn't have many hit points, but somebody hit that and killed it. And so here you guys are, you're working on these, on the demon-y type things, and somebody goes and opens up the next door, and the next door contains a bone devil. And that's where we stop for the night. I gotta say, even though this was a lot of combat for the night, I felt like I moved pretty quick, and there was a lot of change in the combat. It wasn't just a single combat. There's a lot of combatants. It wasn't like the one that we had the other night with the 10 Minotaurs, where it's just 10 turns of the, it's adding a lot to the combat. 10 turns at 2 attacks apiece. Really slowed down things. Here we had a lot of combats, but there's a lot of variety in the combat, and there wasn't a whole bunch of turns. Granted, we only had, I think, 4 players for this week. So having fewer players and fewer monsters help keep the combat fast. Don't get me wrong. I love having love everybody at our table, and I wouldn't trade our table for the world. But it is kind of nice to run a faster night like that. Yeah, so it was nice, especially because for combat nights, they're not normally my favorite for me. Yeah, they're never not my favorite. So it was nice to actually enjoy a combat type filled night. Next week, yeah, it is going to be next week because it's going to be on Sunday, because July 4th is on a Wednesday. We're not going to play on July 4th. Instead, we're going to play Sunday night because our normal online Sunday night game is canceled. So I will talk to you guys on Sunday, because remember, we're doing an online game on Sunday to help keep the pace. That way we hopefully wrap up this campaign by end of July. I'm going to sit down, enjoy the rest of my Chimay Blue. I'll probably be pretty drunk by the end of it. Let's not lie. That's a 9% beer. That's a lot of 9% beer there. That's like essentially a weak bottle of wine right there. So, all right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.